Have you ever looked down mid-eating and thought, when did this turn into a binge? In the next several minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly what tools I used to stop binging in the moment of binge. Let me start. As you already noticed, I don't like to just give you potential ideas or tools what will be helpful in the binge eating recovery. I want to give you exact scenarios what happened for you to connect it with things that might be happening with you. First thing is that often binges started as normal eating, then flipped into an autopilot. That was true for most of the time I was binging. I would start eating because I was feeling hungry. At some point, I didn't know when I would stop feeling hungry, but I couldn't stop eating. My binges were not starting with the intention for me to binge. It was always starting with the intention of me to have a small snack, eat because I was hungry, and they were progressing into the binges without me truly understanding how it was happening, which is connected to the second point. It was my brain. My brain kept telling me that I should keep going, keep eating when I know my body is already satisfied. I think we all had this situation when you know you're full, but the food tastes so good, so delicious that you want to keep eating even though you know you're not hungry anymore, but you keep eating it until it's done. Third is that I ended up overly full and instantly ashamed afterwards because I knew I was eating more than I needed. The shame was right there in a second, which always left me with the perfect plan for tomorrow. It was always, I will start from tomorrow, I will start on Monday instead of doing it right now. I knew in my head I should stop. I was realizing that I don't need this food anymore, but I couldn't. In that moment, it was impossible to stop eating. That's why I would create a plan for tomorrow, for Monday, to make myself feel better and less ashamed. Those were type of problems I had about binge eating in the moment. The steps I took were very interesting ones, and they are my go-to tools even now, because even though I haven't binged for more than 6 months now, I sometimes still get the urge to binge, but right now I'm able to recognize that beforehand. Before, I wasn't able to do so, so that's why I created the toolkit for myself to make sure I wouldn't stay in the binge process, or I would stop binging in the moment. First was to name it in a real time, that I am moving from being hungry to full to binge. So when I was already at full, there are some things that you will notice. For example, the biggest one, the taste of a food changes. You can taste the difference when you're eating something when you're very hungry and when you're eating something when you're very full. I would stop and ask myself, am I still hungry, or I'm eating it because it tastes good? What that tool does is not to fix it, but to give you the choice. If I can name it that I'm moving from full to binge, then I can decide, do I want to continue with binge or do I want to stop? The good part about it was that I wasn't feeling ashamed afterwards, because I knew it was my decision. It was not something that happened on accident. I did it by myself. I took complete responsibility. That's why I don't feel guilty about it anymore. The biggest thing about binges are that they are on an autopilot, right? They are something that you do out of habit already. You don't think about it. So interrupting the patterns were one of the important things to do while you're currently in the binge process. And 10-second interrupt is a very good tool. It's only one action. Put down the fork and take a deep breath. But what it does is that it breaks the chain. Your brain is already used to the pattern of, like, I'm hungry, I'm full, I'm binging, and it's a chain of things that are happening. What you do with this 10-second interrupt is that you are stopping the process in the middle, and that is something new for your brain. So your behavior cannot continue because it interrupts the definition of behavior being something that you do automatically because you already interrupted it. Third thing was to change the location. Step out the kitchen for 30 seconds. Like, change the channel on the TV if you are eating and watching TV at the same time. Do something that is not related to food as an activity while you're having food to give yourself the pause. The second and third tool are doing same exact thing, but they are different tools based on the environment you're in currently. Next tool, which is rule of 3, is my all-time favorite. Basically, every 3 bites you're asking yourself, am I still hungry? It sounds exhausting, I know, but it really isn't. It takes 15 seconds to do that exercise, and the outcome is so huge. The outcome being you're not gonna binge anymore, that it is worth of 15 seconds. To explain it very clearly, it's every time you start eating, you're gonna ask yourself, am I still hungry? After every 3 bites. Those are rules. What you're doing with those 3 bites is to choose the most delicious bites and have them, then ask yourself, am I still hungry? If answer is I don't know, you keep eating 3 more bites. Then ask yourself again, 3 more bites, ask yourself again, until answer is no. The last tool is just manipulate the amount of food you're eating, because thing with binges are that you are eating until they are gone, not until you are satisfied with the amount of food, right? What you can do, the easiest way to deal with it is to have smaller portion. If you don't have any more food than that small portion you have, you're not gonna binge on it. However, downside in there is that you might start binging on something else. In that scenario, when I would want to binge on something else, I'm already creating the interruption. So I'm naturally using the second tool, because if my food is done, I have to stand up, I have to move somewhere else to find the next food, and I will not always end up eating it. If you want personal help applying these tools or want any other personalized tools for your pattern specifically, you can book a free discovery call, which is in the description. And let's go to the last part, which is the outcomes. What changed? I started catching binge earlier, sometimes after only a few bites. I started from not knowing I was binging to knowing too late I was binging to knowing in the process I was binging, then knowing before I was binging, and then stopped. So this is the cycle I went through. That's why this first point was very, very important for me to reach. Second thing was, even when I did overeat, I stopped being in all or nothing spiral. What I mean in this spiral is that even if I overate, even if I binged, it would decrease the amount of binges I would go through the day. The third one, which I already mentioned, was I felt more in control because I knew it was my decision. I felt in control. That's what I wanted to do. It took away guilt, shame, self-hatred, which was very good results. I had fewer blackout eating episodes because I was staying in present while I was eating. I was so focused to figure out when I was switching from full to binge. I was being very focused while I was eating the food. Best outcome I got so far from those tools were to stop feeling guilty. I stopped feeling guilt after every binge. The process happened simultaneously. I stopped feeling guilty. I stopped binging so frequently. Like, less guilty I felt, less frequently I would binge. And at one point, the guilt regarding food completely disappeared. And my binges disappeared as well. One of the big outcomes, which I'm realizing I forgot to mention here, is that I started eating less naturally because I was having less binging episodes. I was binging less amount of food while I was in the process, so I started losing weight. If you take away one thing from this video, I really want you to be this one, that to stop binges in the moment, it is about interrupting the autopilot. It's not to force willpower, it's not to force yourself to be more disciplined, none of those. It is to find a way to interrupt the autopilot. All of those ways I told you in the step 2 were things I found for myself. If you know that your binge will be helped with interrupting the autopilot, interrupting the habit, you can find the ways that work for you specifically. Okay, this was all for today. Hopefully you will find some tools that you are interested on testing it out. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.